Hello and good morning. Joe Justice here, coming to you live on December 9th, 2022. It is Friday. We are deep into the holiday season now, guys. Just a couple more weeks until Christmas. I've got to find some time this weekend to do a little bit of Christmas shopping. I have absolutely no idea when I'm going to do that because we've got parties and we've got events and we've got lots of things going on all the time. So, welcome to Christmas time, everybody. I hope you guys are having a good holiday season. I hope you're enjoying yourself. I wanted to talk to you today about something that comes up with me quite a bit. People will ask me, how do you find the smallest step? So, my general philosophy, my system of operation to achieve any goal is 2 steps. Step number 1 is have an ideal. And step number 2 is take the smallest step towards that ideal. And by ideal, I mean a perfect version of you. The person that you want to be. An impossible to reach goal. That's right. That's what you want to strive for. That's what you want to have as your carrot to look forward to in the future. The perfect version of you is never late. The perfect version of you always eats right. The perfect version of you always exercises. The perfect version of you is always makes the right decisions with your kids, with your spouse, with your parents, with your friends. The perfect version of you is always available to help people out. The perfect version of you is generous. The perfect version of you makes lots of money. The perfect version of you exists out there somewhere in the ether. And all you have to do is find that person. Well, that's pretty overwhelming, and that's very difficult to do. How do you do it? Well, you don't do it all at once. You do it one step at a time. And first thing you have to do is find the smallest step and then start doing that. And of course, it all comes down to day to day. It all comes down to how much you practice on a regular basis. If you want to be fit, healthy, lean, and you exercise one day and then decide not to do it ever again, well, you're never going to be fit and healthy and lean. It's all about doing consistently the same activities over and over and consistently that smallest step. So let me tell you my story. I started out at about 250 pounds not too long ago. I had young children. I had, of course, I was married. I have a full-time job. I have, responsibilities at church and in the neighborhood, in the community, with my parents. Everything else, so constantly overwhelmed. Typical dad stuff. If you're a parent, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Everything's overwhelming all the time. You've got lots of responsibilities. You're squeezed on all ends. You're squeezed by your employer. You're squeezed by your family life, you're squeezed by your parents, you're squeezed by your kids, you're squeezed by your community, you're squeezed. And somewhere in there, you've got to make it all work. Usually you sacrifice yourself first, right? You don't treat yourself right, and then that becomes a negative feedback loop where you don't treat yourself right, you don't take care of yourself, so you become weaker. And then as you become weaker, the weight piles on, and as the weight piles on, you don't treat yourself right, and then you become weaker, and it keeps on going like that. The solution, of course, is to become more powerful, more stronger. It's to be able to manage your time better. It's to be able to eat healthier. And yes, absolutely, one thing that people do not connect with a lot is your ability to accomplish things is directly tied to your physical well-being. If you are struggling in the afternoons to stay awake because you're not sleeping well, it's because you're not taking care of yourself. If you're having sugar crashes at night, if you're drinking as soon as you get home and by 6 o'clock you're already drunk and you can't do anything, you can't achieve anything between 6 o'clock and the time you pass out on the couch, then of course all of your responsibilities are going to pile up. They're going to continue to build and build and build because there's no solution. You're losing so much of your day to sugar crashes, so much of your day to drinking, so much of your day to low productivity because you're not taking care of yourself. So you have to take care of yourself first. And once I realized that, I decided to find the perfect version of myself and to begin to work towards that. The perfect version of myself exercised every day for at least a half hour. Now, the perfect version of myself, was the stud. Again, you've got to visualize this. This all has to be in your head because this is the goal that you're working towards. So the perfect version of myself was the stud that was exercising at least an hour a day, was able to run 3 miles with no problem, was able to do 20 pull-ups and 100 push-ups and, just crush everything and never slow down, wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, go to bed at midnight, eat well and clean, never snacking with sugar and snacks and treats and stuff like that. That was the perfect version of myself. That's what I visualized. That's what I want to become. So you visualize this as a real person, as the real you in the future. Then figure out what's that smallest step. So the smallest step for me was a half hour every day. How do I do a half hour every day? So figuring out that smallest step. How do I do a half hour every day? The solution to me was exercise videos. So I found a source of exercise videos, and I found a video that was 30 minutes long. So that became my goal. Now again, at this point, I couldn't do a half hour worth of exercise. I was at least 250 pounds, way overweight. I was, very sluggish, did not have a lot of energy. So I couldn't do a half hour worth of exercise. So what did I do? I made the commitment to every day. I set a time. Every day at 6:30, I would watch one of those exercise videos. Now, the goal was to watch it. That was it. That's what I mean by the smallest step. What we fall into so often is we say we are going to I'm going to run 13 miles every single day. And yeah, you'll do that for a few days, but eventually you're not going to be able to do that because it's too much too soon. So after a week or two, you're going to miss that workout, and then you're not going to continue it. You're going to quit. So that's why we need to do the smallest step, the absolute smallest thing. So what was the absolute smallest thing that I could do to get to that point of being, this fit, athletic person that was capable of doing all of these things? The smallest step was to watch an exercise video. Anybody can watch, no matter if you're sick, if you've got the flu, if you've broken your leg, right? If you don't feel good, if you're sore, it doesn't matter. You can watch an exercise video. So that was it. So, and then of course, as I would watch it, I would go along with some of the moves some days, and there were literally days where I would do nothing but watch it because I just couldn't get motivated that day, and everybody knows that feeling, right? If you're watching this, you know that feeling. Those days that you wake up in the morning and you just can't, it's like just getting out of bed is hard enough. Those are the days that you lean into the smallest step. Lean into it. Do the smallest thing. So, and there were literally days where I would do nothing but watch the video. I'd sit in my chair and I would watch it. I made that commitment because that's one thing that you can absolutely do no matter what. No matter how unmotivated you are, you can watch a video. But it was rare that I would just watch it, but more and more over time, I would join in. And more over time, I would do a little bit more. And then after a little while, it became more about, okay, now what's the smallest step? The next smallest step is to actually be moving for the entire 30 minutes. So that was my goal. So that was it. It was as simple as that. Watching the video, the smallest step. Once I was able to do that consistently, then the smallest step becomes move the entire time. And then once we were doing that, well, now the smallest step was, of course, if you've seen exercise videos, they'll do sets and they'll do, in aerobics, they'll do it for 2 minutes or something like that. And then they'll take a break. Well, then the goal was to be exercising along with the other participants for the entire time. So then that became the smallest step. So the smallest steps became bigger and bigger and bigger. And if I would have started out with, I'm going to crush every single one of these workouts. I'm going to start out with an hour-long workout every single day. I'm going to crush it every single day. I would have lasted maybe a week or two at most. Because what happens is you fall off the wagon at one point, which, by the way, I hate that term, but that's the way people think of it. You fall off the wagon and then you can't get back on it. And you have to set that, I mean, I guess to use the metaphor, you have to set that wagon low. You have to slow it down so that you can hop back on it whenever you get bumped off of it, because you will get bumped off of it. That's the other thing that you have to realize. When you make your plans, everything's going to change. You're going to get sick one day. Your kids are going to get sick one day. You're going to get hurt. Your schedule is going to get screwed up. You're going to have to go out of town for a week for work. You're going to have to, your parents are going to need help moving. A buddy of yours, something's going to come up. There's always going to be something that's going to come up. The world is always moving. The world is always changing. Set the bar low. Make sure that you can reach the bar and then do it. Reach it and succeed with it every single day. I know you can do it. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. I'm glad to see everybody and glad to talk to everybody. If you've got any questions, be sure to shoot me a message. You can drop me a comment, and I will hear from you soon. You guys have a wonderful weekend. Like, follow, subscribe, all the stuff, share, and I will see you on Monday.